I heard the first one go before I even got to my desk. HR doesn't yell. That's part of the whole performance. Just quiet steps, a clipboard, and the look people get when they already know what's coming. This time it was Frederick, one of the old WMS engineers. 15 years with the company, and now he was being walked out like he'd stolen staplers. I watched from the monitor in the guard station. For angles, all clean. Frederick didn't protest, just nodded, handed in his badge, and walked like he still had some dignity left in him. The CEO stood by the front glass, arms folded, grinning like a kid who'd pissed in someone else's pool. He didn't even fake sympathy, just leaned to his assistant and said something that made her snort behind her nails. Frederick was one of the 3 others in the company with top clearance. Now there was only one left. Me. The second one was Alina from Systems Integration. She wasn't even called upstairs, just had her login cut mid-session and got a Teams notification to come to HR. By lunch, foregone. All of them long-timers. All of them people who still remembered how this place used to be clean, tight, trustworthy. I logged their exits. Time. Door betch. Escort ID. I even noted the CEO's presence each time, even though I didn't have to. He liked to watch. That was the part that told me everything. I wasn't surprised when the last one on the clearance list, Rasmus, got the nod. Poor bastard looked like a ghost as they led him past my station. We locked eyes for half a second. He didn't speak, but I saw the question behind his face. Now, what? I gave him a small nod. Not goodbye, just acknowledgement. I was the last. The only one left with level 6 clearance. The only reason the company still met government standards. And I knew that wasn't going to last. The call came at 16:43. Erik, can you come upstairs? No HR escort. No protocol. Just a smug little voice on the CEO's behalf. I didn't bother locking the station. Didn't need to. I already knew what would happen. The CEO's office used to belong to his father. Back then, it was clean, steel desk, one monitor, no clutter. Now it looked like a nightclub manager's wet dream. Ring light in the corner. Whiskey glasses on the windowsill. Half a gram of Coke residue on a metal tray. He thought nobody noticed. Or maybe he just didn't care. He didn't even stand when I walked in. Erik, he said, smiling like he was promoting me. Thanks for coming up. His assistant was perched on the arm of the guest chair, scrolling on her phone. HR sat at the side of the room, trying to pretend this was professional. I didn't sit. The CEO leaned back, laced his fingers behind his head like he was on a yacht. So, we're restructuring a little. Tightening things. You understand. I said nothing. You've been a rock, man. Seriously. We all appreciate it. But we're kind of moving toward a leaner operation. More automation. And well, he shrugged. Security just isn't where the value is anymore. HR slid a paper across the desk. Termination effective immediately. Final paycheck by Friday. Nedea reminder heiligtet. Badge deactivated. No evidence. Of course. The assistant finally looked up from her phone long enough to offer a smug little smile. I think she expected me to throw something. Instead, I took the paper, folded it once, and placed it in my pocket. You're going to lose your security clearance, I said. The CEO blinked. What? Mine was the last active clearance tied to the government contract. They'll audit that within 48 hours. He laughed. I don't think they'll care, Erik. It's just paperwork. We've still got the software. And no one's certified to manage the WMS chain of custody. No one cleared to handle cloud-side encryption. His smile faltered just slightly. You're going to be audited by Thursday. By Friday, your contract will be gone. By Monday, your name will be flagged in the secure vendor database. And by the end of the week, I paused, looked around the room. You'll be begging your father's friends for consulting work. He stared at me for a moment, trying to decide whether to argue. But there was nothing to argue with. I wasn't threatening him. I was just describing what came next. He tried to shake it off. All right, he said, waving toward the door like he was shooing a waiter. Thanks for everything. You're welcome, I said. And I walked out. I didn't go out that night. Didn't drink. Didn't call anyone. Just went home, took off the uniform like it was soaked in something I didn't want on my skin anymore, and sat in the dark with the balcony door cracked open. 3rd floor. Cheap apartment. You can hear the neighbors when they fight, and the building settles like it's tired of holding itself up. I liked the silence between the walls. Not the absence of noise, just the absence of expectation. No one in this building cared what I used to be. No one asked what clearance level I had. No one would notice that tomorrow I wouldn't go to work. That suited me just fine. I made a cup of instant coffee. Bitter dry. Tasted like cardboard and heat. Perfect. There was a photo on the bookshelf. Face down. Had been for years. I didn't pick it up. Just looked at the spot it left behind. The little square of dustless space. In the Army, they teach you how to detach. Not just from chaos. From comfort. They don't say it like that, but that's what it is. Learn how to go without things: heat, food, rest, fairness. Learn how to pack it in and wait. And when the order comes, do the thing that no one else will do. This was no different. The company thought they fired a guard. They fired the last compliant node in a system that only worked because I made it work. Tomorrow, someone from the government's compliance office would run a simple check. See that the clearance key no longer pings valid. Then the chain collapses, and the contract dies with it. I sip the coffee. Let the bitterness sit on my tongue. Not revenge, not even satisfaction, just process. Because I didn't light the fire. I just stopped holding the extinguisher. They didn't even make it 2 full days. I was eating toast, burned a little, the way I like it, when a message came through. Encrypted from an old contact. Someone in logistics compliance who owed me a favor. Your company just failed its status ping. No valid keys. Pulled the audit trigger. Clock's running. That was Wednesday. Thursday morning, the government contract was revoked. Quietly. No press release, just a soft delisting from the secure vendor database. A memo circulated through the appropriate inboxes. Vendor ID hashtag 742-9X has failed to maintain personnel security standards. Project withdrawn pending review. That contract was the only reason the company had stayed afloat through the last quarter. It was a badge of trust, even if the CEO didn't understand what it meant. Now it was gone, and people noticed. By Friday, 2 clients had pulled out. One of them a critical account in Germany, an industrial supplier that didn't like instability in its chain of custody systems. Then the cloud vendor cut ties. Their software, once stable, now maintained by interns and whoever the CEO hadn't fired, was flagged as non-compliant. No backups, no certification, no encryption signals. An hour later, their server load was cut in half. By the end of the workday Friday, half the employees still standing were locked out of their own systems. Panic hit the boardroom, except there was no boardroom, just the CEO and his assistant. And whatever Coke Fuel planned, they had to spin this as a strategic pivot. They didn't see the knock coming. Monday morning, the tax office filed a motion for forced bankruptcy. 2 unpaid quarters. Misreported revenue. Discrepancies in employee benefits filings. That was enough to move. The public ledger updates by 10 a.m. By 11:20, 3 remaining vendors pulled their support. By noon, the phones at the front desk stopped ringing. And the CEO? Gone. Friday night, just after midnight, security logs showed him leaving with 3 boxes, a duffel bag, and his assistant. No one saw them Monday morning, but I knew where they were going. I've been watching the travel terminal logs for a week. His name showed up on a 3:15 flight to Dubai. He wasn't fleeing a crime. Not yet. He was just running from failure. The last founder, the only one left who still gave a damn, called me Monday afternoon. Erik, he said, voice low and dry. I need help. You should have called 3 months ago. I know. You're calling now because there's nothing left to lose. I know that too. By Tuesday morning, I was sitting in my old booth again. Same monitors. Same terminal. Only difference was, this time, everyone knew I was the reason the building still had lights on. The front door scanner still recognized my palm. Even after everything, I stepped into the building at 6:12. No one stopped me. Half the lights were off. The lobby plants were dying. The coffee machine was unplugged. A bad sign. The founder, Morten Lindgren, met me in the old server room. Sleeves rolled, eyes red, jacket 2 sizes too big. I don't even know what's still functional, he said. I had to bribe the sysadmin just to get the server keys. She hadn't been paid in 2 weeks. We're going to bring it back online, I said, but not the old way. We started by restoring the original access logs, the real ones, not the doctored entries the CEO's assistant had been rewriting behind the scenes. Then I reached out to a former vendor, someone we hadn't paid since April. Promised them clean contracts, no middlemen, and 0 bullshit. They agreed to a probationary reentry. By 10 a.m., I had 2 engineers back in the building. The good ones. The ones who hadn't wanted to leave, but had been pushed out by cheap suits and paranoia. They walked in like survivors. We didn't use the CEO's old office. I had them seal it off. Too much rot in the walls. Instead, we worked from the basement data hub, low ceilings, cold light, solid foundation. From there, I started tracing the CEO's movements. He had overdraft company credit cards to buy the flight. Had 3 aliases registered for travel across Dubai, Istanbul, and Tbilisi. Amateur mistake. He'd used a shared VPN tied to the company's old dev tunnel. I had logs. I had timestamps. I had enough to bury him. By noon, I made a call to a liaison at the Danish Financial Crime Unit. Gave him the details. Travel routes. Account dumps. A list of company assets liquidated in violation of the tax freeze. They didn't ask why I had it. They just asked if I wanted a case number. At 17:42 that same day, Morton walked into the basement, holding 2 printouts. A digital receipt confirming that the nuclear WMS vendor list had added us back, with conditional status and a 90-day review. An alert from Interpol that our former CEO had been flagged in customs in Baku. You did it, Morton said, voice thin with disbelief. No, I said. He did. I just stopped covering for him. I left late that night. The office was quiet again, but this time it felt possible. Not clean, not proud, just possible. And that was enough. 3 months later, the building looked different. The lights worked. The coffee machine had been replaced. The plants were alive. And the new server room had 2 locks, a biometric scanner, and one old man who didn't miss a thing. The CEO, former CEO, was sentenced last week. 7 years for industrial espionage, wire fraud, destruction of protected data, attempted flight from jurisdiction, and, cherry on top, endangering national security infrastructure. Interpol picked him up in Baku, drunk and broke, using a passport in the name of a dead Swedish tennis coach. He sobbed in court, claimed he didn't know what he was doing, said he was just trying to make the company agile. No one bought it. The judge called him a cautionary tale with a trust fund. They offered me a promotion, head of security operations, full clearance reinstated, direct control of onboarding, offboarding, and data compliance. I took it, not for the title, not for the paycheck, to build the walls properly this time, and make sure no one like him ever slipped through the cracks again. We implemented safeguards, real ones. Every document tagged and time-stamped. No phone makes it past the scanner unless I say so. Burn chamber access requires dual confirmation. And the phrase, it's just paperwork, that gets you escorted out immediately. Yesterday, Morton walked by my desk and said, feels like the old days again, huh? I didn't say anything at first. Just watched the security feed cycle. Checked the entry logs. Took a sip of coffee that wasn't terrible. Then I smiled. Just a little. No, I said. It's better. Unfortunately, this is the end of this story. I will write a new one soon. Please do remember to subscribe.